You tapped a card today, maybe at lunch, maybe at a gas pump. Maybe you didn't even take it out of your pocket. You just held your phone near a screen and walked away. You didn't count anything. You didn't hand anything over. You didn't feel a thing. That's not an accident. That's the product working exactly the way it was designed to work. Because your brain has a brake pedal for spending money, a real one, and for 60 years, the payment industry has been quietly engineering it out from under your foot.
So here's the question this video answers. Why does the same purchase feel completely different depending on how you pay for it? Same coffee, same $6, same you. But peel $6 out of your wallet and something in you hesitates. Tap a card and nothing happens at all. Nothing. The answer is that paying is supposed to hurt. That's not a design flaw in you, it's a feature, and it's been running in your head your entire life. And the most valuable thing a payment company ever figured out how to sell you was never credit, it was anesthesia. Stay to the end for this one, because the newest research flips the whole story. The effect everybody talks about is fading, and the reason it's fading is worse than the effect ever was.
Meet Henry. Henry is standing in line for coffee, and he's about to demonstrate 60 years of behavioral economics without knowing it. Version 1. Henry pays cash. He opens his wallet, he sees a 10 and 2 ones. He does a little math, he hands over the 10, waits for his change, and puts the coins back. Somewhere inside that 10-second ritual, Henry feels something. It's small, barely a flicker, but it's there, a quiet little, Version 2. Henry taps his card. Nothing. He's holding the coffee before his brain has registered that money moved at all. Same coffee, same $6. One flicker, one nothing. If you're over about 30, you remember that flicker. It was just part of life. You knew in your body roughly what $40 felt like because you had held it and counted it and watched it go. That knowledge wasn't financial literacy, it was physical. That flicker has a name. Researchers call it the pain of paying. And for a long time, that was just a metaphor, a tidy way of describing why spending money feels bad. Then, in 2007, a group of researchers decided to check whether it was more than a metaphor. They put people inside a brain scanner. The study is called Neural Predictors of Purchases. It was published in the journal Neuron by Brian Knudsen at Stanford, along with George Lowenstein and Drazen Prelec. They showed people a product, then showed them the price, and watched what happened inside their heads. When someone saw a product they wanted, the nucleus accumbens lit up. That's the brain's reward center. Simple pleasure. Want. But when the price seemed too high, a completely different region switched on. The insula. And here's the part that matters. The insula is the same region that flares up when you feel physical pain. It's the region involved when you smell something rotten, when you feel disgust. Your brain does not file paying under math. It files it, at least partly, under ouch. And it gets stranger. The researchers found they could predict whether a person would buy the thing just by watching those regions before the person had consciously decided. The flinch came first. The decision came second, which is a strange thing to sit with. You have spent your whole life thinking of spending as a decision, something you weigh and then choose. But the scanner suggests the weighing happens somewhere underneath that. Your body votes before you do. So the pain of paying isn't a figure of speech. It's your nervous system running a cost-benefit check and reporting the result in the only language it truly speaks, feeling, which creates a very obvious business problem. If paying hurts and hurting stops people from buying, then whoever figures out how to remove the hurt is going to make an extraordinary amount of money.
That is precisely what happened, and it happened on a gradient. There's a researcher named Dilip Soman who studies something he calls payment transparency. It's a simple idea. How visible, how physical, how real does a payment feel? Cash is the most transparent money there is. You see it, you count it, you feel it leave your hand. You watch your wallet get thinner. It is impossible to miss. A check is a little less transparent. A credit card, less than that. Tap to pay, less again. Your phone, even less. A card saved inside an app with one-click checkout, almost nothing at all. And buy now, pay later? There, the payment doesn't just lose its physical form. It leaves the present entirely and gets mailed to a future version of you. Soman's finding is simple and a little grim. The less transparent the payment, the more people consume. Now look at that list again, because it isn't random. It's a timeline. Every single innovation in how we pay has moved in exactly one direction, toward less feeling. In 60 years, nobody has ever invented a payment method designed to make spending feel more real. Not once. That's not a conspiracy. It's just what happens when an industry optimizes, year after year, for the thing that makes people buy. And here's why it works so well on Henry. He doesn't experience any of it as manipulation. Every single step felt like convenience, like progress, like a small gift. Nobody has ever tapped a card and thought, I have just been anesthetized. It feels like not waiting for change. And it isn't only the tap. Think about the last thing you ordered on your phone. There was no wallet, no card, no total you had to confront. There was a button. You pressed the button and food arrived. Somewhere in there money moved, but there was no moment where it was happening. No instant your nervous system could grab onto and say, wait. That isn't sloppiness on your part. There is literally nothing there to feel. The moment has been designed out of existence. There's an endpoint to this gradient too, and most of us are already living in it. Autopay, subscriptions, money that leaves your account while you are asleep. No tap, no screen, no moment at all. So how big is this effect actually? Because so far, this is a nice story about brains and wallets. In 2001, 2 professors at MIT decided to put a number on it.
Drazen Prelec and Duncan Simester ran an auction. They took real tickets to a Boston Celtics game and had people submit sealed bids, each person writing down the most they'd be willing to pay, with no idea what anyone else had written. The only difference between the two groups was a single sentence. Half were told the winner would have to pay in cash. Half were told the winner would pay by credit card. Same tickets, same auction, same room, same night. The credit card group bid nearly twice as much. The paper, and they really did title it this, is called Always Leave Home Without It. The effect ran as high as 100%. Not 5%, not a rounding error, up to double for the identical thing because of which payment method was printed on a slip of paper.
And that number is the one you have almost certainly heard before. It gets repeated everywhere. Credit cards make you spend twice as much. Here's where this video does something different, because that is not quite true anymore, and the people repeating it are about 20 years out of date. In 2024, 3 researchers, Lachlan Schomburg, Alex Belli, and Arvid Hoffman, published something far less exciting and far more important in the Journal of Retailing. It was a meta-analysis. Rather than run one more study, they gathered up nearly every study ever done on this question and ran the numbers across all of them. 392 separate effect sizes, 71 papers. Their verdict? The cashless effect is real, it's statistically solid, and it is small. Not doubling, small. And that deserves to be said plainly, because half the internet will keep telling you it's a doubling. It isn't. When someone tells you a credit card makes you spend twice as much on groceries, they are quoting a 25-year-old basketball ticket auction at you. That Celtics auction was a specific, extreme, high-stakes situation. Out in ordinary life, the gap between how you spend with cash and how you spend with a card turns out to be real, but modest. So that's good news. The scary number was overblown. You can relax. No, because they found one more thing, and it's what this entire video is actually about. The effect is shrinking over time, year after year. Sit with that for a second. The difference between paying with cash and paying with a card is getting smaller every year that passes. And the researcher's explanation is the uncomfortable part. It's shrinking because people have grown familiar with paying cashlessly. Now think about what that actually means, mechanically. A gap can close from either side, so which side is moving? Cash hasn't changed. Cash still feels like cash. Handing over a 20 today feels the way it felt 30 years ago. So it isn't card pain rising up to meet cash pain. Cash is the fixed point. What's moved is us. The entire population's baseline has been sliding, quietly, toward numb. The effect is vanishing not because the anesthetic stopped working. It's vanishing because it worked so completely that we've forgotten what the feeling was supposed to be. Henry's flicker, that small ugh at the coffee counter, is not being overpowered. It's being forgotten. And there's a darker version of that hiding inside the same finding.
If the gap is closing because people got used to cashless, then what happens to someone who never had the other side to get used to? Think about someone who is 20 right now. They have functionally never paid for anything with cash, not regularly. They didn't lose the flicker, they were never issued one. There's no memory of what $40 feels like in a hand because it never was in their hand. The rest of us are being numbed. They were born numb, and you cannot miss a signal you have never felt. And the meta-analysis found one more detail worth knowing. The cashless effect is strongest in what researchers call conspicuous consumption, the purchases you make to be seen making, the stuff meant to impress. That's where the numbness costs you the most.
So the story you've been told about this is wrong, in a very specific way. It says cards are a trick, cash is the cure, use cash. That's not what the research says at all. The break was never inside the card. The break is inside you. Cash never had magic powers. It just happened to be clumsy enough to make you notice. All those seconds of counting and handing over and waiting for change, that was friction. And friction is simply time. Time for your brain to feel something before the moment closed. Every payment method invented since has been an exercise in deleting those seconds. And it worked. It worked so well that, according to the newest data, the difference is disappearing. Not because you beat it, because you can no longer feel the comparison. Which means just use cash isn't a solution. It's nostalgia. Nobody is going back to counting out bills at a gas pump, and the evidence says the gap is narrower than it used to be anyway. The real move is stranger and much simpler. If friction is what lets you feel money leaving, and technology deleted the friction, then you have to put the friction back deliberately. That's the whole thing. Not spend less, not cut out coffee, just make it take slightly longer. Say the number out loud before you tap. Delete the saved card, so you have to type all 16 digits. Wait one day on anything over $100. Every one of those is a handmade replacement for the 10 seconds the coffee shop line used to give Henry for free. None of that is about willpower. That's the point. You are not trying to become a stronger person at the register. You are trying to rebuild, by hand, the 10 seconds that got taken from you. You are not weak-willed. You're under-frictioned. Those are entirely different problems, and only one of them is your fault. So here's the thing to carry out of this one. The last time you spent money, actually the last time, today probably, did you feel anything at all? If the answer is no, that isn't discipline you're missing. That's data. Your brain's oldest and most reliable alarm either fired or it didn't. And increasingly, for all of us, it doesn't. The flinch is still in there. It's just been turned down, one convenience at a time, until the silence started to feel normal. You can turn it back up, but only if you notice it's gone. And if you want more of the honest version of this, the kind where the famous statistic turns out to be smaller than everyone claims, and the real finding is buried in a boring 2024 paper nobody reads, that's the whole point of this channel. Most money advice is built on a study somebody half remembered, secondhand, 20 years ago, and then repeated until it sounded true. This channel goes and checks. Subscribe if you'd rather have the version that actually holds up.